5 kids went missing at Chuck E. Cheese. So I decided to investigate Chuck E. Cheese in this video while making a creepy sculpture of Chucky.
One cheesy rat coming up steaming hot.
I wanted to do a deep dive into Chuck E. Cheese.
This is the best day ever.
Ew.
Some weird, some scary,
Boo.
some really sad stuff is going on behind the scenes. So I wanted to investigate all that stuff while making a creepy / silly sculpture of him. This isn't going to be a tutorial, you'll have to check out Ace of Clay for clay tutorials. It's more going to be like me sharing some creepy facts while having some fun sculpting our favorite cheesy rat. Every time I think about Chuck E. Cheese, I get very nostalgic. I really miss the giant singing rodents of unusual size.
I really have to poop really bad.
And all of the kids running around screaming and the contagious diseases. I have a lot of fond childhood memories at that place. If you're new here, you should consider selling your soul to me by subscribing to my channel. Everyone will join, and anyone who doesn't will be chased by a woman in a rat suit. Also, don't forget to turn on all bell notifications or I'll be lost on the internet.
Forever.
I post new videos
Every Friday.
I actually feel really bad for Chucky. I mean, I know he's a fictional character, but he surprisingly has a really sad backstory. The company actually posted a children's book on their website that documented Chuck E. Cheese's backstory. This was back in 2012. It was later picked up by the press because of its dark storyline. Chucky grew up at an orphanage known as St. Marinera's. Because he was an orphan, he didn't really know when his birthday was, and that made him really sad. So instead, he hosted other kids' birthday parties to fill that void. So no one ever sang him happy birthday. Which is kinda heartbreaking, to be honest.
Don't worry, it gets sadder.
But Chucky really loved music and games and parties, and he especially loved singing happy birthday to everyone else at the orphanage. Eventually, Chucky got too old for the orphanage, so he bought a bus ticket to New York City.
This is a really great idea. What could go wrong? Honey, how many times do I have to tell you Johnny don't like the sauce on Anthony's
Well, why don't you just go
pizza?
ahead and roll me onto 5th Avenue?
Holy cannoli!
Just kidding, he wasn't hit by a car, he just moved there.
Which would have been a great idea, except, you know, it costs about $3,500 to live in a tiny box on the side of the road in New York. So Chucky was homeless. Anyways, there was this pizzeria that smelled amazing. And they had some music playing on the radio, and you know Chucky loves music. So he decided to sneak in there and sleep for the night. I'm giving Chucky a really big belly. It looks like he just ate like 10 of his own pizzas. I mean, someone's gotta eat them, right? One night turned into several nights, and after a while, the pizzeria owner noticed him and tried to kill him because, you know, you don't want rats hanging around in your restaurant. So he was chasing Chucky around trying to kill him, and then suddenly, Chucky started singing. As one does in such situations.
Fingers down my spine. Ooh yeah.
The pizzeria owner loved his singing, and I mean, it's a singing rat, so that is pretty remarkable, I'd say. So he decided to hire Chuck E. Cheese to sing at his restaurant. He got up on stage and had some stage fright, and people kept booing at him and walking out.
Sorry, sweetie, just don't look him in the eye, come on.
Oh, you stink!
Long story short, there was a kid in the audience wearing a birthday hat, so Chucky started singing Happy Birthday. The audience started clapping and cheering. They loved his singing, and the pizza place became the most perfect place for families and birthday parties. So apparently that was the beginning of Chuck E. Cheese. As I said earlier, this was made into an actual kid's book too. I never even knew that Chuck E. Cheese had a backstory. His backstory is just the most heartbreaking thing. He went from being an orphan to homeless and then almost being killed by the owner of a pizza place. His backstory is definitely way darker than I expected. Who writes this stuff? Jeez. I go to Chuck E. Cheese to party, not to cry. It's actually even more sad now that Chuck E. Cheese is calling it quits and filing for bankruptcy.
Boo-hoo.
The end of a traumatizing era. The backstory makes me feel really bad. I kind of want to save Chuck E. Cheese now. But then I found out about a lot of the dark stuff going on behind the scenes at Chuck E. Cheese. I feel like the pizza is a pretty safe option to eat. You can't really go wrong with pizza, like, ever. Unless, of course, you're Chuck E. Cheese. Then you could go a little wrong.
Uh-oh.
There is this theory that Chuck E. Cheese is recycling pizza slices. You guys have probably already heard of that controversy, so I'll just kind of summarize it. Basically, there was this popular YouTuber, Shane Dawson, who looked into the mystery. And he concluded that Chuck E. Cheese's may take pizza slices that are left over on tables and kind of assemble them into a new pizza, and then just kind of sell it back to you.
Excuse me, I have to go and vomit.
A lot of people noticed that the crusts didn't line up on the pizzas or that the slices were uneven. I mean, I think it's safe to assume that Chuck E. Cheese's is a kind of shady place. Not gonna argue with that one. After all, any place that smells like snot and pee needs to be investigated immediately. Lately, a bunch of people have been talking about Chuck E. Cheese's again. There was, of course, that whole business of them trying to sell their pizzas under the name of an alias. They're trying to go incognito on us, guys. Basically, Chuck E.'s pizzas weren't really selling well for whatever reason. I can't imagine why. So they started selling their pizzas under a different name on Grubhub. Pasqually's. Chuck E. Cheese was outed on Reddit and people were pretty upset. They felt it was false advertising because they had no idea that they were eating pizza from Chuck E. Cheese's and they really didn't want to eat Chuck E. Cheese pizza. Like, really.
File under, so that's why my pizza tasted like screaming kids, stress, and depression.
Nobody wanted to take out from Chuck E. Cheese, so they changed their name to Pasqually's on Grubhub, put a fake sign on their windows, and now they're trying to pass it off as bad marketing
if.
for a new restaurant launch. This is hilarious.
When someone calls Pasqually's Pizza and asks why their pizza came in a Chuck E. Cheese box.
Another huge blow to their PR.
Honestly, at this point, if I was their PR guy, I would just go ahead and rebrand the place already and just turn it into a Five Nights at Freddy's. You can't just run away from who you are anymore. I mean, you just kind of have to embrace the creepiness at this point. I'm just saying, I think it would be an awesome marketing move, and I know that I would go check out a Five Nights at Freddy's. That would be pretty cool. Comment down below if you would go visit a Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria.
If you're wondering where the name Pasqually's came from, it's Pasqually P. Pie Plate. That's the name of the animatronic chef that plays in Chucky's band.
Mamma mia!
Which, I mean, makes sense. There were these viral tweets with a news article from USA Today saying that 5 children have gone missing inside of a Chuck E. Cheese. Parents report smells coming.
smell?
There was another article posted about this same location where these kids went missing that's title reads, "Night shift workers at Chuck E. Cheese's claim strange movements coming from the animatronics during post hours." So basically, the creepy animatronics were moving on their own when they shouldn't have been, and the employees noticed. These posts were going viral just last month, and everyone was freaking out. It was spreading on the internet like wildfire. A lot of you guys probably already know about Five Nights at Freddy's. It's a series of horror games and spin-off media inspired by Chuck E. Cheese's. In fact, it even takes place at a fictional pizza place that looks a lot like a Chuck E. Cheese location. Seeing these tweets, I can't help but think of Five Nights at Freddy's. But looking into that missing kids thing, it turns out that it's not actually true. The article wasn't even from USA Today, it was a doctored picture. Just photoshopped to make it look like stuff actually goes down at Chuck E. Cheese's. As far as the creepy animatronics moving on their own, it's because they have a huge air compressor in the back. In the morning, they're filling up with air just to get them going a little bit, and so they kinda twitch and move in this really creepy way. Basically, they're just moving a little bit because air's flowing through them. Then the same thing happens again at night when the compressor is turned off. The air is being released, which causes the animatronics to kinda twitch and stuff. Yeah, I don't like it. The air doesn't get released all at once, it's a pretty slow process. So you might see them twitching a little bit every once in a while when the air is getting released out of them. As far as the weird smell people were smelling, it's just from a bunch of kids running around barefoot and farting all day. What did you expect the place to smell like? A lot of Chuck E. Cheese slander going on. Chuck E. Cheese just can't catch a break.
Subscribe or I'll force you to lick the bottom of a Chuck E. Cheese ball pit. The ball pit changes you. Yes, Amir, that is a threat.